I'm certainly not the most qualified person to comment on this topic, but there seems to be a buzz on YouTube in the last couple of days about Prince Harry accepting a what's called a Legends of Aviation award. A lot of prominent people involved in aviation have received this award, like, for example, Neil Armstrong, first man on the moon, Buzz Aldrin, second man on the moon, celebrities, I believe, such as Harrison Ford, um, Kurt Russell, Morgan Freeman, Tom Cruise, who themselves are also, besides being celebrities, are also aviators. Um, People are saying that Prince Harry does not really deserve the award because although he supposedly was an Apache attack helicopter pilot during his second tour of Afghanistan in Afghanistan. Tour of Afghanistan. No, he wasn't touring Afghanistan. He was in the British Army, doing did a couple of tours in Afghanistan. First tour he was on the ground. He was on the ground. Second tour he was allegedly flying Apache helicopters. There's a whole controversy about this too. Was he a pilot or was he a gunner on the Apache? Apparently he was a gunner. With a title. Apparently, in the British Army, they give the gunner different titles like gunner co-pilot or um, second pilot, something like that. So maybe that's why he was mistaken as a pilot. But I can't say for certain myself. I don't know. So either he was a gunner or a pilot. Either way, people say he doesn't deserve the award because he really hasn't. I mean, he may be an aviator, but he hasn't contributed toward aviation significantly enough. Like he really hasn't done anything to make him a legend of aviation, quote unquote. It's my understanding that there hasn't been that many people who've been given the award. Um, maybe 100, maybe a couple hundred. I don't know how long this thing has been running. Some people, like perhaps Neil Armstrong, have been given the award. Perhaps have been given the award posthumously, because this thing hasn't been going on, since like the moon landings back in the '60s. It's a fairly recent thing, maybe the last 20, 30 years. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, um, yeah, of course, just learning to fly a helicopter is quite an achievement, and going off to war um, is certainly a big deal. You know, nobody's minimizing that. Hopefully, I'm not minimizing it. I respect Harry for having accomplished those things, but it's not about that. There were a lot of helicopter Apache helicopter pilots in Afghanistan, Iraq, um, other types of pilots, jet pilots, um, A-10s, F-15E, Strike Eagles. Um, those people all achieved things, but they didn't all get awards, right? And of course, this is an aviation award, but let's not forget the people on the ground, right? They were probably exposed to the soldiers on the ground, right? In places like that, they were probably exposed to much more danger than an Apache pilot or a Strike Eagle or an A-10 pilot. I mean, an Apache is an armored monster. I don't know if any Allied aircraft were even shot down in Afghanistan. I know some might have been in Iraq, but Afghanistan, it's a possibility. I don't know what those guys would have shot it down with, like a rock, throwing a rock at it or something. Because you're basically fighting the Flintstones. I mean, these guys were the most primitive people on Earth. You know, you're going up with super high tech, modern technology. You know, Mach 2.5 F-15 F-15E Strike Eagles against basically the Flintstones hiding in caves. So I would say the guys on the ground, the guys and gals on the ground, were exposed to much more risk than the flyers, with IEDs and stuff like that. And none of them got an award, right? None of them gets an award. Of course, as I said, yes, it is an aviation award, so of course that doesn't relate to ground forces, but still, you know, why should Harry get an award basically for doing his duty, doing his job, right? There were a lot of people over there doing their duty, and none of them gets a special award, and people are saying that he's only getting it, you know, for, you know, politics, appearances, social, because he's the prince, right? Because he's a prince, and he's married to a movie star, and John Travolta actually had something to do with it. John Travolta was involved in pushing for this. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I might not have mentioned John Travolta. I think he's also a recipient. Maybe I did mention him. Anyway, but the point is, he pushed for this award. He's got sort of a connection from years and years ago to the royal family because apparently during a White House gala back in the days of Ronald and Nancy Reagan. Anybody remember them? Anybody remember Ronald Reagan? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Hey, for that matter, anyone remember Ferris Bueller? How many people out there remember or have even seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off? Anyway, great movie. But so Ronald and Nancy Reagan, the president and first lady back in those days, this was like 1985, they had a gala event. They themselves had been actors. Ronald and Nancy Reagan used to be actors as well. And during this event, this ball, John Travolta had a dance with Princess Diana, Harry's mother. So he's got kind of connection there. This is when like Harry was 1 year old or something. So anyway, there's a theory about John Travolta's involvement in this too. I'll get to that in a minute. So he apparently pushed for it, but and people were also taking into consideration Harry's previous charity activities like the Invictus Games and things. Although, of course, again, he didn't do all that himself. You know, there were a lot of people who made that possible. But again, that's great and awesome, but it doesn't relate to aviation, right? They're saying, well, why is he inducted as a legend of aviation? You know, when other guys did the same thing over there, you know, they didn't get any awards. You know, it's supposed to be for someone who's contributed significantly to aviation or has somehow promoted aviation or supported it in some significant way, which Prince Harry did not do. So I'm not knocking his accomplishments, whatever it was, as a pilot or even as a gunner on an Apache. Even to be a gunner on an Apache, you have to. I think it's like it's a long course. I don't know, 8 months, 12 months, something, just to be a gunner, because you're dealing with an awful lot of high tech equipment, you know, and you have to learn how to use it with precision and reliability under fire, under combat conditions. So, and you have to go through all the stuff that pilots go through, like SEER training, you know, the kind of thing that Navy SEALs also go through: survival, evasion, resistance, escape. Because you may be shot down as an aviator, as a member of an air crew, military air crew. You may be shot down behind enemy lines, and you have to learn all those things, right? How to survive, how to evade capture, how to, if you're captured, how to resist interrogation and torture. And your number one duty, if you're ever captured, is to escape. That's always been the case, right? Any prisoner of war, your number one duty is to escape, you know, as soon as you can, if you can. So it's SEER: survival, evasion, resistance, escape. And as a member of an air crew, you may find yourself behind enemy lines on the ground. So he had to go through that training, you know, and it's rough stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I admire him for that. But again, does that qualify him? You know, every military aviator, member of an air crew, whether you're a pilot or not, has to go through that. And they don't get awards. So people are saying, does Harry really deserve it? Yeah, a lot of, you know, and like I said, the people on the ground, of course, were at at much more risk. This isn't World War II. The United States Army, back then the Air Corps was part of the Army. There wasn't an independent Air Force yet. And then the 8th Air Force, believe it or not, incurred the greatest casualty rates, or losses, killed killed or captured, basically shot down over Germany in World War II. They incurred the 8th Air Force incurred the largest losses in the entire Army. They lost thousands and thousands. Remember, every B-17 bomber is crewed by 10 people, right? 10 men. So, you know, you lose 50 bombers in one mission. That's 500 men, you know. And they were flying like every day and losing people every day. The Germans had a very sophisticated anti-aircraft system. They had basically computerized guns, computerized anti-aircraft guns. They were I guess you could say, the first computers. They were very, very primitive, of course, but yeah, they had computerized guns that could home in on these planes and stuff. So, but that's not the case in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, it was the Flintstones. So, if you're in an Apache, something, you know, an armored monster like an Apache, or flying a F-15E Strike Eagle at 600 miles an hour, it'd be pretty hard to hit with a slingshot or a rock or something. Or even like an AK-47, which is probably the standard weapon of those guys over there. insurgents. I don't know how you can be an insurgent in your own country, but anyway, the so-called insurgents. These poor guys hiding in, well, no, they're not poor guys. They were jerks. Taliban are assholes, of course, and child molesters, by the way. You know, let's not forget them. I've talked about Jehovah Witness and government child molesters in the past. Let's not leave out the Taliban because there's a long-standing, there's actually a long-standing like custom in Afghanistan where it's actually a thing, like bidding for young boys. They bid for these, they basically buy these young boys from poor families, and they bid over them, and you know it's pretty disgusting. So yeah, they're assholes. They're child molesters, but you know they're the Flintstones. They were hiding in caves and shit. You know, so the guys on the ground, the guys and gals on the ground, were much more at risk in this particular situation. Obviously, every situation is different. Every war is different. This particular war, if you were a flyer, you were probably a lot more safer than anyone on the ground. And none of those people got any special awards, you know, other than maybe medals for their service, and some of them posthumously. But yeah, a lot of economically disadvantaged people risked their lives so the CIA could start growing heroin in Afghanistan again. That's another story. Look that up. Yeah. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about here. Anybody could make a video going on and on and on about government corruption and stuff like that, but hey, I know my little videos are not going to change the world, so let's not harp on that. That shit is depressing anyway. My point is, yeah. So that's the current what do you call it? The current buzz on Prince Harry. And the other thing I wanted to, make up your own mind. I'm not telling anyone what to think. Personally, like I said, I admire him for his accomplishments and for his service. I thank him for his service. Thank you, Harry. Takes balls to go to war. You know, no doubt about it. I kind of feel sorry that he can't transfer the same skill set from Afghanistan to Los Angeles and stand up to his own spouse the way he stood up to the Taliban. Apparently he eliminated at least 25 Taliban soldiers, but the poor bastard can't stand up to his own wife. She's got him wrapped around her pinky finger. But anyway, again, that's another story. Harry, if you see this, come on. You're a warrior. Don't let anyone lead you around by the you know what. Take control of your life and of yourself. You know. And that goes. And I'm not being sexist about it. I mean, there's women who control men, who control their men, and there's men who control their women too. It works both ways. So, if, like I said, I've talked about this before. Cult life, being manipulated, being brainwashed, being controlled. It's like, don't be controlled, whoever you are, in whatever situation. Don't be controlled. You know, take control of yourself. Take control of yourself. Don't try to control other people. Control yourself. Control your own life. Take charge of your own life. Anyway, back to the subject. I digress again. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention was John Travolta's and John Revolting, John Revolting, and his involvement in this. And I was watching another YouTube video. talking about this situation, and the lady making the video brought up a theory that I never would have thought of. But remember, John Travolta is heavily into this other cult called Scientology. The movie star cult that a lot of celebrities, movie stars belong to, like Tom Cruise, for example. And the Scientologists, they seem to love um, recruiting celebrities, right? Recruiting celebrities, not unlike the Jehovah's Witnesses, not unlike Watchtower. I mean, Watchtower does not actively recruit celebrities, but when there is a celebrity who is, or at least claims to be, a Jehovah's Witness, they don't seem to have a problem with it. Even though, according to their religion, you're not supposed to be part of this world. You're not supposed to be a celebrity. But they don't seem to have a problem with it because it gives them some exposure, right? Michael Jackson, Prince, Serena Williams, Damon Wayans. They don't seem to have a problem with it. But the Scientologists seem to actively recruit these people and actually work hard to support and further their careers. I mean, they helped Tom Cruise become big, and I'm sure same with Travolta and others. So they want to get their hooks into celebrities, right? For the prominence and the status and this exposure it gives them. So this lady theorized that, yeah, and it makes a lot of sense that maybe the Scientologists are trying to get their hooks into the royal family, trying to get their hooks into Harry, right? If John Travolta starts getting involved and doing things for Harry, like arranging for Harry to get this award, you know, Harry's going to be beholden to people like Travolta and beholden to the Scientologist. It's like there's some people, they do you a favor or two, but they fully intend to call in those favors one day, right? They want it to be reciprocated. So it might be that Travolta is sort of acting as the recruiter, to kind of suck Harry and even Meghan into this cult. I believe that. I believe that theory. I think it's a very plausible theory. I think it's very plausible. So that's one possibility. Anyway, this is not an a world event. It's not that important. It's just something that I was just accidentally stumbled on YouTube last night, and I thought I'd put in my 2 cents worth. That's about it. Have a good one.